Princess Pea here. I'm waiting on B-Dub. He's supposed to be coming to chat with me, but he ditched me. So, anyway, welcome to Infused and Confused. So, today I'm going to be making 3 different kinds of curry and just sort of talking about the history of cannabis as well as some of the history related to curry. Oh, there's Stoner. You count. Go over there and steal B-Dub's spot.
Yeah, he can take it.
He can take it.
He can take it. DJ Stoner, what's good?
Hey, Stoner on the beat.
Hey, mama. Stoner on the beat. She got you a new joint, too.
Do me a favor and find Facebook Live while I'm doing this. Yeah. Do you like curry, Stoner?
Yes, very much so. I'm accustomed to curry chicken. Goat, I'm getting used to. I love curry chicken.
Goat is really delicious. It's really funny how people are like really sketch of goat whenever they first hear about it, but it's delicious. So the reason that I decided to go with this is because there's so many different curries all around the world, and they're all different in their own way, but they all have a very similar taste overall. And since curry originated in Asia and cannabis originated in Asia, I figured that that would be a perfect comparison. But a lot of people think trying to make 3 different kinds of curry is too much. Eddie.
Oh!
I
said ambitious.
Ambitious.
That's all, not too much.
Well, we got this. I'm ambitious.
Stop it. Oh!
She ambitious, nigga.
Alright, so today we're going to be making a standard garam masala Indian curry, which would be what most people would be more familiar with, like if they're familiar with that kind of curry. But we're making that one with chickpeas. And then I'm making a Thai veggie curry. And then I'm making a Jamaican chicken curry. So have you had Thai curry or Jamaican curry before?
Jamaican, yes.
Okay. So do you know about like the history of curry and like how it ended up in Jamaica?
No, I just know it's down the street from the house.
So I didn't. I actually spent hours and hours and hours researching this because I was just convinced that like it wouldn't be that hard to find information about like this thing that's been around for thousands of years, right? Like curry is like staple in South Asia. I had roommates that were from Nepal, and so that's really what started me my first experience with like this style of food. And it's such a staple there that I just assumed that there would be lots of information about it, right?
Okay.
Not so. It took me like lots and lots and lots of time to try to find like the real history of curry because most of it was like very colonized. There's in fact even an article on the BBC's website specifically talking about like English people sort of taking ownership of curry. So I'm going to get into that more in a little bit, but I just wanted to show you kind of what I started doing. Jacob. So I wanted to make the chicken for the Jamaican curry, but I didn't want to have to like bring raw chicken and deal with that. And I thought most people want an easy recipe. So this is actually rotisserie chicken right there that I've just broken off the bone, the breast, and I'm going to be cutting that up and using that for the curry.
Now, I guess I don't want to say random question. I guess a regular question. Why is curry so hot?
Why is it so spicy?
Yeah, spicy rather, yeah.
Well, it doesn't always have to be spicy. That's the thing. Like, there are mild curries. Most of these are going to be fairly mild.
Okay.
And then there's spicy curry. So that's one of the things that I found that was so interesting. So the chilies and stuff that typically make a very spicy curry, those don't originate in India. Those originated in Mexico, South America, and with the like indigenous people there. And they came back into India after Columbus and like through like the spice trade. And so that's when pepper started being added into curry. But before that, it did exist. There's even some stuff that indicated that it was like used in the Mesopotamian region during
all the way back,
right. But there's very little information about it. So basically, it originates in India, and the English people gave it the name curry, which basically means like a mix of spices. But it's been in India for a long, long, long time. So basically, as like England was colonizing all these different countries all over the world, they brought curry with them from India, basically. And also, did you know, because I surely didn't, that like Indians, and when I say Indians, I'm referring to people from India, not Native Americans, were brought over to the Caribbean and Africa like in droves as indentured servants. Because I didn't. Like, I never learned that in history. Did anybody learn in history about Indian people being brought to this side of the world? Because I surely didn't. They were basically brought over and forced to do labor for a payment of rice, lentils, and curry spices. So, yeah. So there's like a really deep-rooted, like, history with curry that's like really surrounding like colonization and oppression that like, I don't know why nobody's talked about it before. I even like really was like, there's got to be like a YouTube video or somebody talking. Nothing. It's like nobody cares, I guess. But have you heard of Michael Twitty?
Not yet.
So he is this really amazing author and chef who wrote a book about Southern food in America and its roots in like slavery and like African food, and it's really amazing, and I really like can't give it enough recommendation for reading. But that was sort of one of the first things that made me really think about like, well, where does our American food really come from, right? So anyway, back to what I'm cooking. So I'm gonna start by turning these on. I'm gonna start the Jamaican one first, just because it has the chicken in it. I'm not gonna put that in there yet. The other thing I'm doing differently today is I'm not infusing the food until it's basically done.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to put the cooking oil, because I've got my trusty infused olive oil. I am not putting it in the food until it's basically done, because I don't want to lose... Why? Why do I not want to put it in while it's cooking on the stove?
Because you're going to burn off all the beautiful THC that infuses your food.
Right.
If you cook this oil at over 200 degrees, you're basically going right back to cooking oil. Please do not do that.
Right. So we don't want to do that. We also don't want to convert it to CBN, because that means everybody in here is going to take a nap, and we don't want that. No night-night. No, you got to work.
All right, we don't want that.
We don't want that. All right, so I'm gonna I'm letting the pan heat up a little bit, but I'm gonna go ahead and get started on the Jamaican one as soon as that pan heats up, and I'm also going to in this pot start on the Thai curry. So I'm putting in, this was 1 sweet potato chopped, so that's going in. I'm putting in a couple of teaspoons, I don't know, of red and green peppers. And then I'm going to put in a couple teaspoons of red onion. And I know you're like, but Pete, why did you buy the already cut onions? Wow. Because I'm lazy. That's why. And this show is supposed to be about people making real stuff that they actually would make at home. Like, I love watching cooking shows and like watching these like really intricate recipes. And like sometimes I'll make those. But like, can we be real and admit that if you work all day, you're not trying to come home and spend like 4 hours in your kitchen? Like, because I'm not.
I'm trying to pull me a Rate 30-minute meal.
Exactly. So think of this as Princess Pea's 30-minute infused meal.
Hey,
so times 3. So for the Thai one, I'm getting that one started because the sweet potatoes are going to take a while to cook. I'm going to take these gloves off. But the sweet potatoes are going to take a little while to cook. And also I really want the flavors to infuse really well. And that's the thing about like doing 3 different curries in an hour is that I'm pretty sure that's what Eddie was implying when he said it was ambitious. Realistically, like spaghetti sauce, you want curry to like sit as long as possible so that the flavors have a chance to like merge together. But this is just, us hanging out here on Tasty Tuesdays, so.
Cooking. We ain't got nothing to do. Make infused food.
So, did you know that cannabis also originated in Asia?
Yeah.
Yeah?
That one I did know.
You did know. Okay, cool. So, even though medicinal cannabis has been used in cultures all over the world forever, it originated in Asia, and it wasn't really brought to America as like a medicinal product until the mid-1800s. So even though there's a lot of evidence that Native Americans used cannabis medicinally, it was probably cannabis sativa, also known as hemp, for those who aren't aware. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, sativa isn't a hemp. Yes, it is. Cannabis sativa is hemp. The only people who determined what was considered hemp and what was considered cannabis was the government. That's not a real thing.
So it's all hemp.
All of it is cannabis. All of it is hemp. Yeah, well, hemp is cannabis
Hemp is
sativa.
cannabis, yeah, okay.
Right. So cannabis indica was used in India really heavily for medicinal purposes. And so in, I think, like the 1840s, I don't remember his name. It was like Joseph something. He went to India and saw like this cannabis that everyone was using and how powerful it was. So he brought it back to the U.S. and pretty much from then until the 1930s, almost every pharmacy, or what was back then it was considered an apothecary, carried medicinal cannabis products. And it really all originated from that trip to India and seeing cannabis indica being used medicinally.
That's why you see all the old like medicine bottles, and they literally had red cannabis on it.
Yep, exactly. And most of them said cannabis indica for that.
Right.
So for the Thai curry, so I've got about a little over a third of a can of coconut milk in here. I'm also going to put this big teaspoon of red curry paste. That's going to go in. And then I'm going to add some veggie broth. Not a lot. So everything, by the way, except for the chicken with the Jamaican curry is vegan and vegetarian. So for all the veggie folks in the audience.
I'm a carnivore.
I know you are.
I'm just saying.
All right, so I'm going to add in some, this is lemongrass. It's in a tube. It's best to use fresh. If you don't have fresh, this works. So I'm going to put about a half teaspoon, a small squirt. And the ginger, I'm going to use even less. Have you ever used fresh ginger before? Yeah, so it's crazy potent, and a lot of people don't know that until they use it the first time.
That's what I found out the first time.
Find out the hard way?
Yeah, see, like, 'cause you can't really tell.
Nope.
Let me taste it for everybody. And it's your taste, so that doesn't really even count.
Right.
So, too much is almost not a good thing.
All right, so I'm going to stir this around just to kind of get this started. I'm going to add in the basil and a few other things here momentarily. I just, like I said, wanted to get this going because the sweet potatoes are going to take a minute. Zucchini is also going to go into this, but zucchini doesn't take as long to cook, so it's not going in first. All right, so back to the Jamaican. So I did just use a regular rotisserie chicken and took the breast off. You can use as much as you want. I'm not cooking for a ton of people, so I'm not going to use more than that. So I will say, I went to the store. I went to like the international aisle at the store, right.
I like that aisle personally.
Yeah,
I walk
well,
through it for
usually
no
so do
reason.
I. So I get to like the Jamaican section, right? It's like a whole thing of like Jamaican food, right? So they have all these like pre-done powders. So I'm like, oh, word, that would be like so easy. And then I don't have to bring all these extra spices with me. Then I read the ingredients and I'm like, turmeric, salt, cumin, coriander, garlic, black pepper, fenugreek, allspice. Allspice is the last ingredient, which is like, means there isn't very much in here. It doesn't have any like hot pepper. It doesn't have any, what's the other word? Any pimentos or what's the other pepper? What's the pepper that they use in Jamaica? Scotch bonnet. That's the one. It didn't have any of that. It basically is like it says mild curry, and it is indeed a very mild curry. So we're gonna doctor that up. But
hold on. Is the one you just said spicy? The Scotch bonnet, is that pepper spicy?
Oh yes, and I don't really do
That's
super
why.
spicy. That's not like my thing. So I do have some like hot pepper sauce from Jamaica that we're gonna put a little bit in, but I'm not gonna go too crazy because too spicy is not always good. And again, none of these are like true authentic recipes, and I'm not pretending that they are. I mostly just wanted to talk about like the history of curries and how it's like, so it's kind of ironic actually when you think about it. Like I kind of wanted to talk about the history of curries and how like
Not making real curry.
right, and I'm not even making real curry, but at least I'm like not pretending that I am. I'm just trying to make something that anybody could make easily from their house. So for the Jamaican curry, we need a little bit of oil. I'm using coconut oil. This is not infused.
Yet.
No, not yet. There's a couple people that are on
Butcher
staff
bowl.
here that don't want infused food. So that was another reason that I decided that I was going to show you how to infuse last. So I'm just going to put a little bit of oil, not like a ton, but enough.
Okay, no, it is.
Alright, so for this one, I'm adding in some tomatoes. Not a lot. I'm going to use...
See, I'm lazy. That right there, put some cheese on top of that, cook it for 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, but you're like missing out. There's so many good flavors in the world. Like, whenever people like, my spice cabinet is ridiculous. Like, the spices that are on here is nothing. And that doesn't even include all my herbs, which are separate. Like, my medical herbs are totally separate from my, like, cooking herbs, and it's ridiculous.
I mean, you good at what you do, but do you ever mix them up?
Do I ever what?
Mix them up.
Mix up what?
Like your medical herbs and your cooking herbs.
No, because my medical herbs are all in a totally separate place, and they're in big giant mason jars. But technically, I mean, all of my medical herbs could be used for, you know, whatever. It doesn't have to just be...
I'm curious. Store your herbs in one place.
Right.
Store your herb, you know.
Alright, so I'm adding some pimentos in here. Just gonna do about a teaspoon, maybe 2. Do you like pimentos? We're gonna go with 2. We're gonna add in some more onion. Huh?
That's salt. Oh, no, the curry.
That's the mild curry powder.
Okay, that's no
But
good.
we're gonna add some other stuff to it. I really should have like sauteed these onions first, but I'm basically just trying to get it all into a container and then gonna let it simmer for a while. But really, saute your onions first.
Because you didn't saute first, will that overpower?
No, it just means that the onions might not be as cooked through, but I'm gonna make sure that they're cooked through before we continue. All right, so I'm adding in some extra allspice. I'm adding in some extra turmeric. Adding in some hot pepper sauce. And then I'm going to add some veggie broth. And just let that kind of all melt together. Where'd it go?
What?
The veggie... Aha, there it is.
So you ain't putting nothing down here?
We're working with limited space here.
So with all these ingredients, your
Right.
turmeric, your tomatoes, your onions, your chicken, your mild curry sauce, right?
Right.
You add all that in that wonderful pot right there, throw a top on top of that, and how long you letting that simmer for?
So I'm not actually going to throw a top on this one. If you're at home, yeah, you probably would want to put a top on it. But you want to let it come up to a boil, like a good like rolling boil first. You know, like you want to let this sit here. You want to let it come up to a nice like simmer basically, and then you want to turn it down to like a medium and
Okay.
let it sort of meld together for about 30 minutes. So basically this should be done right about the time the show is done. That's the goal.
All right. And if you're cooking, I mean, you bought a whole rotisserie chicken already pre-cooked. Using the raw chicken, do you want to cook the chicken first before this step here? Or can you cook it all together?
My hot plate turned off. Can we go to break real quick, Jacob? Are you in here? Of course he's not in here. Jacob, can we go to break real quick? Nope.
No. We don't do commercials.
Go to this commercial, to this place.
Why is it two of you?
The WLVS.
Technical difficulties.
Swing the camera over to the table. We're going to do it. Swing the camera over to the table. We got commercials. We making commercials.
There we
Yeah,
go.
we-
Got it. Got it.
Never mind. We don't need no more commercials. Welcome back, folks.
Got it. All right, hot plate had turned off. I was like, why is this not coming up yet? Okay, that's why.
Can't cook without fire.
Yep. All right, so
Good job. Good job.
good job.
Why are you reflecting? What am I? That's.
All right, so we're gonna let both of these come up. The reason that I did these two first, by the way, and not the Indian curry first, is
Right.
because the Indian curry needs the least. I mean, it needs the most time. I mean, it needs a lot of time, just like all curries need a lot of time. But for the purposes of the show, it's the one that needs the least amount of time.
The quick
The
curry.
Indian curry.
This is the quick curry version.
Quick carry in a hurry. Hey, why not, right?
Yep.
See the first Georgia Avenue.
Exactly.
Hurry to hurry.
It is called Infused and Confused. So if
It
we're
is.
not like
Hey,
if
hey.
we're not like fucking up
We got the
somewhere, we're not
table.
doing it right, y'all.
We got the title for a reason.
Yep. It was actually for anybody who's watching that like is one of my people. I had y'all vote on it, and it was just hilarious to me how many people like overwhelmingly was like Infused and Confused because like that's just absolutely fits my personality. What did you vote for, Stoner? Because it wasn't that.
It wasn't Infused and Confused. It was oh, I gotta go back and look. It was whatever your first one was.
It was the Munchies Monarchy.
No, it wasn't that one.
That you voted on that one.
I did-
And
okay, yeah, so it was two I
Munchies
did.
Monarchy and something.
The first one that's the one I really like. I did the Monarchy just to add a
Potluck
little variety.
party.
Potluck party, yeah, because we always like Tasty Tuesdays is literally a party. I promise you.
is.
Come down here and try some of it. We got curry.
For
What we
sure.
had last week?
Last week we didn't have anything. The week before we did
It was-
breakfast for dinner.
What? Yeah, pancake, man. Yeah.
No, I think
It
that was
wasn't
the time
pancakes?
before that. I don't remember. We'd have to go back and look.
See?
We
See,
spent
we-
too much of our time stoned. Again, the name of the show was perfect because I'm confused all the time. So, all right. So now the hot plates are back on and doing their thing. I am going to chop up this Thai basil to put into the Thai curry.
Thai basil. Okay, now you specifically named it Thai. You didn't name it, but you said Thai basil.
Yep.
Is Thai basil different from if I walk in the store and just grab regular basil?
So it's slightly sweeter.
Okay.
But generally speaking, it's sort of like if we compared it to cannabis, it's just a different pheno of basil.
Oh, true shit. Okay. Got you.
Yeah. Right. A lot of people use like regular like holy basil or sweet basil, which is usually used in Italian food. I've got some really pretty purple basil at home that I meant to bring with me, but I did not. So, yeah, because Infused and Confused is my life.
Sweet though.
So basically, I'm just gonna put a glove on so that I can like kind of manhandle this basil here real quick.
Have fun.
Such a flower. How you manhandle?
What?
I say you're such a flower.
I'm not a flower. I'm not a delicate flower. That's not me. No.
It's not you?
No, I'm definitely not a delicate flower. I am like the weed that will destroy your life. That's
God.
what
Oh,
that's
God.
what I am. Don't underestimate me.
Don't do it.
Boom. Have you ever used? I'm totally even using the wrong hand. See, this is what happened. So,
I had noticed. I seen it and didn't think about it. I was like, all right, cool. She cooking.
yeah,
Look, if she used her hands, it's made with love, man. Understand that.
this is true. But you know, we're cooking for other people. What I do at home for myself
Oh.
is the same thing.
Oh.
But I did wash my hands before the show, so there's that.
Like 6 times too. She one of them OCDers.
Shut up.
Cool though.
Shut up. Hey, the bathroom is pretty because of me. Okay.
Very true.
Yeah, so I actually
Take a-
did bring in all these like
Come here,
decorative things
Facebook.
for the bathroom, and
Take a look.
basically, oh, is anybody asking questions?
No, not yet. We got Mr. David Jacobs and Alexia. I don't want to get her name destroyed. That one. Hi, Alexia. Oh no, wait. Miss Nisi says, "Where are we?" We are at Listen Vision Studios, 2226 Georgia Avenue, Washington D.C. Come down here and get some of that and some of that, and she's gonna do some more stuff with that over there.
Yep.
Like, come on down here, please. Y'all too, get down here. We can't eat all this. Help.
Yeah, for real help. All right. So, while those things are doing its thing, I'm gonna start getting the spice mixed together for the Indian curry.
See what y'all can see. Y'all got her perfect. Okay.
But so I found it really interesting that there's basically like hundreds and hundreds of curry recipes all over the world, and they all have a lot of like the same spices, but slightly different depending on where you are in the world.
That's interesting.
So have you heard of Country Captain? That's definitely something, if you're not from the South, you probably have not heard of.
No.
Yeah, so Country Captain is definitely like a deep South, coastal South recipe.
See, I thought it was a store.
The
or
Savannah
restaurant.
region. No, it's an American's version of curry. And that all falls back into the same guidelines of
Okay.
who was brought over. But really, like,
Dig.
I don't know what we have in America besides like what cheeseburgers that like are
What-
true American food.
True American foods, hot dogs, hamburgers. As the old saying goes, as American
Barbecue. There you go, Eddie.
like apple pie. As
Apple.
American as
I don't
pie.
know if we. I don't know though, because the French have been
What?
doing
Oh,
pastries
bro.
forever. We can
Right.
claim it, but like.
Okay, so where did the saying come from? Like that needs to be Googled because that will make me think.
I'm trying to tell you, it's not hard. It's not easy to find food history. Like, I seriously have been working on this all week, trying to find like the history of some of these foods, and like, it's not easy. Like, there's definitely a need, in my opinion, in the like historian
For food.
field for food history, because I think that like food says so much about like our culture and where we come from and how we grew up and like, and you know, your like, you know what I'm saying, like.
Yeah, I mean, it tells you everything from your childhood to your adulthood. Because if you were a picky kid and you don't like A, B, and C, but you'll eat, you know what I mean?
Right, exactly. So, in this bowl, I've got 2 teaspoons of garam masala. I'm actually gonna, let me see if I can move this camera over this, or let me move some things out the way.
Right there, real quick. Let me help y'all. What was that? I didn't catch that. Oh. Sorry, Facebook. My fault. Miss Nisi said she would like to cook with you. Oh, 22-26, Nisi. Oh, 26-22. 26-22.
All right, so that's 2 teaspoons of the garam masala, which is, I'm gonna show on the big camera right there. Garam masala. If you can't find it at your regular grocery store, depending on where you live, you might not be able to. Look for at an Indian grocery store.
You got it.
International market.
International market.
It's so hard to find Indian store.
I mean, it depends on where you live, because like in Dallas, they're on like every other corner in certain neighborhoods. But like up here, it's like almost impossible to find.
It's a bad example of a city, but okay.
Yeah, like way
Huh?
on the other
It's a
side
bad
of the
example of
world.
a city.
What, Dallas?
Yeah, Dallas. Boo, Dallas. Boo.
Give me that.
It's a hot button issue.
I'm culturally a Cowboys fan, but I don't actually give a fuck. So, you know, there's that. They're never going to win ever again. I appreciate that they had a good run. But, okay, sure, go Cowboys. Like, my birthright says I must do that.
Oh, okay. I guess.
So I put a teaspoon of cumin in there. I am going to put just a tiny bit of cinnamon.
And while the princess
About
works
that
on
much.
that, we can watch that curry there boil. She said it wants to bring it to a rolling boil.
Yeah, so we basically want that to bubble a little bit more than it's doing now, and then I'm just going to turn it down to medium so that it basically simmers like that.
Okay.
I heard she was making movies.
So I'm going to do 2 teaspoons. And honestly, this that I'm making right here, this is going to last me for longer than the show. I'm going to put it in a container. But it's hard for me to do like ratios for this kind of curry in a really small batch. This is what I have most experience with, is like an Indian curry or a South Asian curry.
Now, you stated that curry is all around the world, and if you tweak the recipe just a little bit, it can come from anywhere. So what would be the difference in the two you normally cook? Would be the Indian curry and the, you said South Asian?
Indian, South Asian, like that's the same general.
Same thing?
Most of
Okay.
them are pretty much the same.
I figured that little...
India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, they're not the same countries with the
No.
same cultures at all.
No.
But from a curry standpoint, most of the base of their curries are generally the same or
Okay.
very similar. That was a tiny bit of allspice that I put in. I didn't put very much. In Jamaican curry, it's usually a lot more allspice than what would be in an Indian curry. This is paprika. Putting in a teaspoon of that. I'm gonna do a teaspoon of chili powder, but actually no, I'm not. I'm gonna do about a half teaspoon of chili powder.
Oh,
Cool.
check this out, y'all. We got that rolling boil coming up. A little bit faster than me over here. And as she stated, those sweet potatoes down there you see, those little orange rocks down there you're looking at, those are going to soften up over time.
So, I do not like cilantro at all. Can't
Really?
stand it. Nope, can't stand it at all. I think it's the most horrible thing ever. But I also know no, there's a legit thing though. People who don't like cilantro, to me it tastes like soap. Apparently there's some genetic marker that makes it taste like soap to certain people. So, yeah. So I'm gonna mix these spices together. And that's a pretty good base curry spice mix. I think it's a giant waste of money to buy like just your standard curry powder. And yes, I know I bought one for like the Jamaican curry, but like for Indian curry, I would never just go to the store and buy curry powder. It's a giant waste of money.
Would that be your base?
Would it be my base?
Yeah, like,
it's a pointless
just a-
base. It's 90% turmeric. It's such a don't
that's
buy
why, that's
do
why.
not buy curry powder, like just plain curry powder. It's not expensive to like buy the ingredients and make it yourself, and like that's a ton of curry powder. Like that's gonna last for like a really good amount of time. And this was maybe $1 worth of ingredients to make that.
So you earlier read all the ingredients off the back of the mild Jamaican curry that you picked up
Right.
from the store, right?
Right.
Could I grab those ingredients and make my own?
Absolutely.
curry
Absolutely. See, but this one has cornmeal in it. That was the other thing. I guarantee that about half of what's in this container right here is cornmeal. I just don't use fenugreek, for example, or coriander enough to go buy my own. So I was like, I'll just get this because of the show. But generally speaking, I don't use enough for it to be a thing. Doesn't that smell
Sorry.
good?
But in theory, you could. I mean, you do actually make your own powders.
Absolutely. And a lot of these seasonings, like turmeric, for example, has so many good medicinal properties that it's like one of the staples in my house. I don't even buy it really at the grocery store anymore. This little thing of turmeric, this is an old jar that I have refilled multiple times because I buy turmeric by the pound through either Blue Nile Botanicals here in DC or online at Mountain Rose Herbs. So, because it's so cheap. It's like, I think it's like $12 or $13 for a pound. Do you know what a pound of turmeric looks like? It's big. It's like in a big bag. So like, why would you go to the store and spend like
$2, $3.
$5 or $6 on this when like double that and you get like a giant? Don't do that. Just don't do it. Buy it online or buy it at Blue Nile Botanicals.
Now, turmeric, me hanging around with the Cannabis crew, right?
Right.
That name is super familiar. Is that one of the things that goes into your
Topical balm.
topical balm? or
Topical
what?
balm, pain tincture.
Tincture, that's what I was trying to, yeah.
Yep. I use turmeric for a lot. So turmeric, which it's super
Yeah.
good for you. It's full of anti-inflammatory properties, antibacterial properties, pain relief properties. Like turmeric is so good for you. Like even if you don't like using turmeric in your food, which I don't know why, because it doesn't really taste like much of anything. Here, look. Have you ever actually tasted turmeric? Okay, well, you about to. Yeah, you are. It doesn't taste like anything. I'm gonna add a little bit. Like it just doesn't like. Put your finger on that powder.
It adds more color to it.
It adds color to your food, but it
nothing.
doesn't really taste like much of anything, right? Like it's not overpowering.
It's
So
a-
it's really mild. You can put it in like there's a recipe that I've seen going viral recently that's not new, but it's called golden milk, and it's essentially coconut milk, which is like what we have right here, turmeric and ginger, and it's really really good for you. But it's not new. It's been used for, hundreds and thousands of years.
Good for you. Have you ever made it?
Golden milk?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I make it a lot.
Huh. Is it tasty?
It doesn't really taste like anything. To be honest, most of the time I just use it in smoothies. Like a lot of the things that like cannabis juicing, for example. Like I'm really into like, juicing the fan leaves and like whatever.
right,
But like I don't sit there and like just make a cup of juice and like, no. Like I'm all about things tasting good. So like there's a lot of things that are like very beneficial to your health that like I'm not just gonna eat. Like I'm not just gonna grab dandelion greens are a great example. They're super healthy. I don't know if you knew that or not. Like
I never even heard of dandelion greens. Like,
dandelions that grow all over
yeah. Okay.
the leaves.
Le-
Dandelion greens.
Wow.
Go to some bougie restaurant in Northwest, and I guarantee they'll charge you $12 for a fucking salad of dandelion greens. It's weeds that you can get outside. Anybody can do it. Anyway,
I'm about to go turn make a whole
there's a
ad
ton of health benefits to dandelion greens, but they're really, really bitter. So like, I'm not gonna just sit there and like eat a dandelion green salad because it doesn't taste good. So like, I throw it in smoothies. Golden milk. It doesn't really taste like much of anything except ginger, really, and coconut, but throw it in a smoothie. Like,
and it won't take away from the taste of whatever smoothie you're making.
no, well, that's the thing. Some of that I think takes some getting used to. So like, I've done a couple of Instagram posts about like my daily like smoothie or whatever, which I took a break from during the winter because it was cold, and now I'm getting back into because it's freaking hot.
90 degrees plus.
It's
next 10 days.
ridiculous. But yeah, so I do a base of like berries, usually strawberries, blueberries, whatever is seasonal or that I can get nicely frozen.
Maybe
and
coming
then
soon. Wow.
some kind of greens, banana, pineapple juice, and usually orange juice. And like, but then I add in, see the thing that makes my smoothie so good isn't just the fruit and the greens. Like those things are good, but they're not
That's
like.
the best part. What you mean?
Huh?
That's the best part.
Yeah, that's what you think. Until I add spirulina and ginger powder or ginger root if I have it, turmeric, tincture, usually the pain tincture. Sometimes I put in chia seeds. Like, there's all the additions to the smoothie that makes it really good for me and, like, for my body.
Okay, yeah.
So, like, to me, like, stuff like that, like, you should treat your food like medicine. Like, that's actually, like, in the Hippocratic Oath is, like, let thy food be thy medicine. And so, like, I'm really big on, like, putting all the, like, herbs and other things that are really good for you into your food because that's the best way for you to consume them.
I mean, you put it in your body. Why not make sure it's the best thing you got?
Exactly. And your body absorbs things better through like eating them than it does necessarily in like a capsule.
And then with all that stuff you put inside, whether it be this food or the smoothies or anything, all that nutritional value you get in, because I was told not a long time ago, I'll say fairly recently, that your body doesn't want the food. Forget the food. Your body wants nutrition from the food.
Exactly. Our taste buds want the food. Our brains want the food. Like, they want the taste. You know what I mean? But, like, our body just wants the nutrition. And so, what's the best way you can get that nutrition is
Making
eating
it taste good. Like,
So, just like I tell people with medical cannabis, is that a lot of people assume that smoking it is, like, the best way to, like, take your medicine. And it's not. Like, first of all, you're only getting, like, a very small percentage of the THC that's actually in the flower. So, that's one thing. And two, it doesn't last nearly as long, and it doesn't provide the same benefits to your body. So, like, you might smoke a certain strain and feel some relief for, like, 15 or 20 minutes or whatever. If it's really good, maybe longer. But if you had that same strain in a tincture or in an edible, like, the reaction in your body is just going to be totally different.
see, I want to challenge that theory, but I feel like I'm going to be asleep on the floor somewhere.
You don't want to challenge those kind of theories with me, Bob. You'll lose.
Challenge accepted.
You just want to be sleeping somewhere.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, okay. All right, so this is looking really delicious, by the way.
Yeah, continue.
You know, and what's interesting, so I have old roommates in college and whatever. I had a lot of friends that were from Nepal, and so again, that's how I kind of got into like this style of food, specifically like Indian and South Asian food. But so when I asked them about cannabis, and remember, this is way back when like I was not using medicinally. It was just something we did sometimes when we could get it. I asked them about weed in Nepal, and they were pretty much like, so apparently all the weed men, they all hang out on the third floor of the mall. There's nothing else in Kathmandu, Nepal. There's nothing else in that third floor.
Okay.
And everybody, including like all the government officials and everybody, like they all know it's there. They don't care. They use it, but it's still technically illegal.
Yeah, I'm about to say, because in like Nepal and South Asian countries, they'll murder you for that. Not murder, they'll kill you because of their laws.
Nepal, I think that it's like a fine or something. It's not super strict there, but I know that there's other places. Like I know Japan has like super strict rules. Like I think that I read that it's like a gram can get you like time locked up, like real time.
Because their country is so they want to be viewed in such a way that we do nothing wrong.
Let our people smoke. Or drink. Or eat. Or however they choose to consume.
Just as long as you infuse it.
Exactly. So, the Jamaican curry is basically done. So I'm setting it aside. This is going over here. Don't touch it.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to pull this pan up here. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but Princess Pea, it's not infused yet. Again, I'm doing that when it's over. Huh? My live's probably going to die. Is anybody asking any questions? Okay, cool. Alright, so I'm going to do the chickpea curry now. So I've got the oil down. But actually what you want to do, is you really want to like cook the herbs. Realistically, I probably should have done this for all three curries, but again, this is the one I have the most experience in, so this is the one that I'm doing those things off.
Free-handed.
So I'm doing 2 teaspoons for now of the Indian curry powder mix that I made. And I'm gonna see, I'm kind of blending it into the oil. Can you hold this for me? Thank you. So I'm gonna kind of blend it into the oil like that because you want to kind of cook some of those spices. Really, if you're making true, authentic curry, like you want to toast all your spices like in whole spice form, like whole cinnamon sticks, whole everything,
Yeah.
and then grind it down. But like, this is Tasty Tuesdays. I don't have my whole kitchen, and we don't have time for all that.
I've seen that done before. Not real like
Right.
on TV, and then take it and then pour it over the plate on the food, make it look fancy or something
Yep.
like that.
Yep. All right, so I've got that in. Next is tomatoes. And I'm gonna do the onions and peppers. A lot of things that I cook are to taste, if you haven't figured that out by now. The only thing, in my opinion, that can't really be to taste is baking. Otherwise, you add as much or as little as you like. If you think something's too spicy, use less of whatever makes it spicy. If you think something isn't spicy enough, add some more spice to it. Like, spices are like, cooking is like art to me. So, like, it should be what you want it to be. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the heat up. And I'm going to kind of let these guys mellow out. And add some salt.
I really wish y'all could smell this. Like I didn't do it.
He did it. He broke it.
Jacob did it.
Yeah, it's my fault.
Totally Jacob's fault. You suck.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
I know. Rough remote.
So I added salt to this, by the way, because the salt is going to help bring the moisture out of the onions to help them like sweat basically and saute easier. So I'm going to let this sit here for a minute and chill. And in the meantime, I'm going to add the zucchini into the Thai curry.
My fault.
Huh?
It's such a stoner.
Huh?
Get that camera angle.
Working on it.
Isn't that pretty? I just love really pretty
You guys
colors.
zucchini. I was like, what?
Alright. So, let's see how that...
Can't be soft enough yet. Gotta turn it up. Let that boil you for real.
Alright, there. Alright, it's starting to get soft, but it's not soft enough yet. So I'm going to turn it up. I'm going to actually add a little bit more coconut milk and curry seasoning and whatnot to that to give it a little bit more liquid. You okay over there? Did you hurt yourself? I was talking to you, Bobby.
What happened to me?
Did you hurt yourself?
No.
Alright. So, gonna let that come up and just kind of chill and do its thing.
Now these two are you said you're familiar with. These are your favorites to make?
This is the one that I'm most familiar with. The Thai curry and the Jamaican curry I'm least familiar with as far as actually making them. I've made a lot of Thai food, but mostly like pad Thai. And like I make these lemongrass chicken spring roll things with this like peanut sauce. It's really good. But most of my recipes are like inspired by certain places. They're definitely not like authentic. So alright, so I've got those two doing their thing. I'm going to leave them alone for now. And I'm going to go ahead and, for the folks who want to non-infuse, I'm going to take their little serving of this Jamaican curry out, and then I'm going to infuse it. All right, so we've got infused olive oil right here. I can give you the math for it in a minute. It was infused with 9-pound hammer, which we did have lab tested, and it tested at 26%. So I'll be able to give you the ratios for a second, but I'm going to use 1 teaspoon for the whole bowl. Because remember, what do I say about making food for people that's infused?
Try to lay them down.
No, that's literally the exact opposite of what I tell people.
Oh, sorry. Less is more.
They gotta drive home.
My fault. Yeah, less is more. Don't overpower.
They gotta drive home.
Don't overpower your food.
You overpower your food when you're at home and you don't have anywhere to be. But when you're up here, and I know you gotta get home, I'm gonna make sure that it's like fairly mild.
Sometimes you need to feed the engineers.
And the engineer has non-infused food right there. Unfortunately, we can't get him too smacked. Although, I think it would be really funny to get Jacob really, really fucked up.
waiting for it.
And then have him run a whole bunch of shows.
Like,
I mean, there might be like some refunds that have to be issued afterwards.
I mean, hey, things happen, right?
Alright, so that's basically it for the Jamaican curry.
Ah,
I'm gonna let you try
it's
it.
gonna be interesting. You know how we go to the little Indian spot up the block, right? So I'm curious about this.
This is the Jamaican one.
Oh no, I'm curious about this one. I want to see which one is better. Yeah, that's mine. Don't worry about it. Don't ask about it. That's for me.
90% infused.
Let's see, let me figure out the math right quick. Hold on, people. If it's, I need my calculator.
Phone over here on live.
Somebody have a calculator?
Yeah.
Alright.
I was waiting for y'all to say no. Everybody got a smartphone. No.
Alright, if it tested at 26%, if it tested at 26%, that's 260 per gram. So 260 times 28. How many teaspoons are in a cup? Anybody find that out? We got people in the audience trying to help us out with this math here.
Yeah, randomly like, no, it's too small. 12 is way too small. My random guess. Damn, I was about to say 50 too.
48 teaspoons per cup times 2,
48.
because it's 2 cups was the original batch.
And then 96.
Okay, so whatever number you got, Jason, divided by 96.
270 or 27.
So there are 75.83 milligrams of THC in this entire bowl of Jamaican curry. So for those of y'all who wanted to figure it out, that's how you figure it out.
Math.
Math. And if you're not good at math like me, use a calculator. You know how all of our teachers told us when we were young that like, you're not going to be able to carry a calculator around with you everywhere?
Welcome to
Well,
2018.
you were wrong, bitch. So...
Don't nobody need no abacus, you old bitch. No. This smells bomb, yo.
Doesn't it? Now, do you usually get the tikka masala from the place in the corner?
That's the new one. I'm stuck
Okay,
on
so
third.
that is like my favorite Indian food recipe, and that's not what we're making here at all.
It's sweet and spicy.
It's
that
so
one.
fucking good. Like they put with the yogurt and like, oh my god, it's so good. Like tikka masala and I have a very like
Ooh, actually,
long-standing love.
Jacob turned me
affair.
on to that. The tikka masala.
It's
like,
so
just try
good.
This. Try what?
So
give it
good.
to her.
All right, so that's been going for a second. So now I'm gonna add in the chickpeas. This is just 1 can. You can make them fresh if you have time. Crock pots work great for that. If you don't have time, get a can. Drain and rinse it before you use it. So I'm just gonna mix in those chickpeas. So a lot of people in Nepal specifically, I'm not gonna speak on India because my friends weren't from India, but a lot of people from Nepal are vegetarian. Like that's really common. So a lot of food from like Indian restaurants, Pakistani restaurants, they have a lot of vegetarian options and vegan options because in that part of the world, there's a lot of people that are vegetarians and vegans just naturally. So this, even though it's vegan, this would be a very typical like weeknight side dish for a meal. A really common meal that I used to like come home to all the time was there would be a big rice cooker full of basmati rice.
Okay.
And then there would be a combination of it would either be this chickpea curry or it would be a pot of lentil curry. And then the extra side would usually be this like potato cauliflower curry that's like so good. And that was pretty standard meal, like all the time. Like we were broke and like early 20s, late teens, and we couldn't really afford to buy like meat. And so it helped out that most of them were vegetarians and like
I see, and that's
cooked.
the thing. I'm listening to you explain all your meals, right?
Right.
The breakfast. I'm sorry, your dinner and your sides and everything. And I'm not hearing any meat. And the thing is, like, vegetables are like they're filling, but it's like, man, can I get a little piece of beef or anything? But,
So,
I mean, vegetables will fill you up.
my first time eating goat, which is usually just called mutton, was at this Indian grocery store that had a deli in the back that would do like carry-out style food. And I was like, what the hell is mutton? And I had no idea that it was goat, but I definitely was like, it looks like beef. All right, so I'm just gonna take it home and try it.
Okay.
I mean, it turns out I didn't actually know that it wasn't beef.
Okay.
But you know, yeah, it tastes basically just like roast beef. Don't be scared of it because you know the thing is, to other cultures, like, and even if you, people are so funny when it comes to meat, right?
Right.
Like, I was a vegetarian for 5 years, I was a vegan for 3, so like, it still cracks me up how people have such like a like. What's the word? Like a cognitive dissonance to their food. Like it's like I would never eat my dog, but like it's like they think that certain animals are like bred to be eaten and certain ones aren't. But that's really just society that's told you that, and like the food industry.
That goes back to what you said earlier on
Right.
what you raised on and how you eat.
Right.
Because like your friends are from Nepal and then from India.
Right.
I bring a fresh. I don't want to say that like that. I bring a person over from India and they see me go cook a whole cheeseburger and now I'm the worst person on the planet when the whole time I was raised like this.
Right. So you know, and in a lot of parts of the world, people don't eat pork.
They don't eat pork, right?
In like Sweden and that part of the world, they mostly eat fish. They don't eat as much meat. So you know, our like determination of what we eat really doesn't have anything to do with how like good of the quality of the actual meat. It really has more to do with like demographics and
Where you
culture
from? Yeah.
and poverty, because like you know, there's a lot of people who eat rice and beans not necessarily culturally, but because that's what they can afford.
That's what they got. Like, to me, goat, like the first time I had goat, it was like, ew, goat. That's a farm animal. We don't eat that. But then again, so is a cow.
Right.
And so is a chicken. So what makes that four-legged animal any less different from
It's
the
not.
bigger four-legged animal?
It's not. And if you've ever spent any time around those animals, like not to be like all vegan-y, especially because there's definitely chicken on this plate, but like all animals are like sweet like creatures. It doesn't matter like just because you think that like cows are dumb or that sheep is dumb or whatever. That doesn't actually mean that that's true.
No,
like
they're creatures just like us.
I mean, sheep are dumb. I will say that. No, I did raise sheep for 4-H. They're pretty dumb, but they're really cute. So like, I didn't really feel bad though about auctioning it off. I'm not gonna lie, because they're really dumb. Like 5 a.m.
Drop the joint on. Here you go.
Infused and confused. That's why we call it this, you guys. So yeah, I definitely would wake up at 5 a.m. and these dumb sheep would be like barreling themselves into the side of their fucking pen.
Hell
Like,
yeah.
do you know what it's like to get woken up because you think that like there's an explosion happening and it's the fucking sheep barreling their head into the wall? It's not a fun way to wake up at 5 a.m.
What were they trying to do? Get in the house?
No, they're just dumb. Like, they're stupid. That's what I'm saying. Like, we had to walk them on leashes. It was like a whole thing. But fun times. I grew up in the country, if y'all can't tell. So,
Down to one viewer. I'm cutting your phone off.
all right. So, this curry is done. I already put the little bit of non-infused over there. I'm going to leave the stove on for a second with this one because it doesn't have as much of a, like, sauce to go into. I'm going to do the same thing and put 1 teaspoon. Actually, I'm going to put 2 teaspoons. And for everybody watching, I'm going to have to finish up some of these things once the camera goes off because this one isn't quite done yet. But for everybody watching, be sure to come in on Tuesdays, every Tuesday for Tasty Tuesdays at 5 o'clock. All people in the audience are getting free infused food. If you can't have it infused, I'll make a side for you without. So anyway, I guess that's it. Thanks, guys.
Confused and confused. See y'all later, man.